Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Charna. This is Speed News. Let's start. Donald Trump urges NATO to take a firmer stance by shooting down Russian jets violating Allied airspace following recent breaches reported by Poland, Romania and Estonia. These are claims that Russia has denied. The escalating incidents have heightened NATO members' anxieties, with Poland's president affirming readiness to defend its borders. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who also met with Trump, highlighted their agreement on the urgency of cutting Russia's energy revenues, pointing to accelerated EU plans to halt fossil fuel imports from Moscow to weaken Kremlin's war efforts. Hamas has denied US President Donald Trump's claim that Hamas is blocking efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. Instead, they are blaming Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for obstructing peace talks. Trump accused Hamas of refusing to release hostages, while Hamas proposed a 60-day ceasefire in exchange for the immediate release of half the hostages. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the US has not received the reported Hamas letter about a hostage deal and would not consider it even if it did. US President Donald Trump has made a striking reversal on the Ukraine war. Speaking after a meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky at the United Nations, Trump said that Ukraine, with the help from NATO and European Union, could in fact recover all of its territory from Russia. And that's a major shift from his earlier stance when he suggested that Kiev might have to concede land. Zelensky hailed the move as a big shift, adding that they discussed Russia's weakening economy, During his address at the 80th United Nations General Assembly, US President Donald Trump called Iran a global sponsor of terrorism and emphasized that preventing Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons was his top priority. Trump criticized the Iranian Supreme Leader for rejecting his proposal to discuss a potential nuclear deal. Trump also took credit for brokering an end to the 12-day conflict between Iran and Israel. In response, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei declared that Iran would not yield to pressure to stop uranium enrichment, stating that negotiating under threats was equivalent to surrender, which no honorable nation would accept. At the 80th United Nations General Assembly in New York, US President Trump launched a tirade against the UN, criticizing the organization for failing to live up to its potential in a lengthy speech of 55 minutes. Trump also shared personal grievances, recalling a malfunctioning escalator and a defective teleprompter during his visit to the UN. Despite the extended critique, Trump did not offer concrete solutions, focusing on expressing his dissatisfaction instead with the international body. Donald Trump hosted a meeting with Arab leaders on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, including leaders from Qatar, Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. The focus of the meeting was to work towards ending the war in Gaza and prioritizing the safe return of hostages. Trump described the meeting as very successful and expressed optimism about Israel joining the efforts next. The Emir of Qatar, speaking on behalf of the participating countries, echoed the commitment to securing hostages' release. A man charged with attempting to assassinate US President Donald Trump at his Florida golf course during last year's presidential campaign has been convicted by a federal jury on all counts. Ryan Ruth faces life in prison with sentencing set for December 18th. Trump praised Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Justice Department prosecutors for securing the conviction, calling Ruth an evil man with an evil intention. Ruth was arrested last September after a Secret Service agent spotted a rifle barrel protruding from the bushes at Trump's West Palm Beach golf course. And at the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, First Lady Melania Trump unveiled a new initiative aimed at helping children thrive in the digital age. She explained that the effort would bring together spouses and representatives of world leaders to confront the challenges of rapidly advancing technology. Stressing that innovation was moving faster than legislation which could keep up, she called for simple practical measures to create healthy and safe environments. A new statue appeared near the US Capitol depicting Donald Trump holding hands with late financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was convicted of sex offenses. The 12-foot installation quickly drew a crowd of onlookers, snapping photos and videos created by an anonymous art collective known as the Secret Handshake. The sculpture aims to highlight the controversial ties between Trump and Epstein. Donald Trump is embroiled in a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for an article linking him to Epstein. At the 60th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, Indian diplomat Kshitij Tyagi sharply accused Islamabad of bombing its own people in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where a recent airstrike killed at least 30 civilians, including women and children. Tyagi called out Pakistan to vacate the illegally occupied Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and urged the country to focus on fixing its struggling economy, which he described as being on life support. He condemned Pakistan's inflation of the forum to target New Delhi while ignoring its own internal issues. The EU is set to launch its long-delayed entry-exit system on the 12th of October, which will digitize border checks for non-EU nationals across 29 member countries. This new system replaces manual passport stamping with automated biometric registration, collecting facial images and fingerprints. Belgium has introduced its first remotely piloted aircraft system, the MQ-9B Sky Guardian, amid growing European concerns over air defense following several Russian breaches of NATO airspace. Belgium Defense Minister Theo Franken stressed the importance of strengthening the armed forces and expanding unmanned capabilities. There you see pro-Palestinian protesters rallying outside the UN in New York as world leaders arrive for the General Assembly, waving flags and chanting for an end to war. Demonstrators underscored the stakes as over 140 leaders, from presidents to a crown prince, took the stage to confront conflicts in Europe and the Middle East. Nationwide protests swept Slovakia as thousands rallied against Prime Minister Fico's pro-Russian government. Demonstrations were held in 19 cities and towns, including Bratislava, with crowds voicing outrage over austerity measures that Parliament is set to debate. The plan includes higher health and social insurance benefits, steeper taxes for top earners, increased VAT, and some food items, and the possible removal of up to 3 public holidays. Supporters of the Venezuelan government are protesting in Caracas against the US naval deployment in the Caribbean near Venezuela. The deployment involves 8 US warships sent by President Donald Trump, officially aimed at combating drug trafficking. However, Venezuela views this military buildup with suspicion, fearing that it may be a prelude to an invasion. Hundreds of people gathered at Valencia port on Spain's eastern coast to protest the transfer of military equipment intended for use by Israel. Demonstrators described the situation as an absolute atrocity. This protest coincided with Spain's government approving a comprehensive arms embargo on Israel. The measure forms part of a broader set of actions aimed at stopping what Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez referred to as the genocide in Gaza. A violent prison riot erupted in Macala, southern Ecuador, triggered by clashes between rival gangs Los Lobos and Sao Box, resulting in 14 deaths, including 13 inmates and 1 guard. 14 injuries. The conflict involved firearms, explosives and grenades, and some prisoners escaped, with 13 recaptured so far. The riot lasted about 40 minutes. This is before authorities regained control. Ecuador's prisons have seen rising violence as gangs. President Daniel Noboa to intensify crime-fighting efforts amid an ongoing security crisis. Ten French MPs, led by Francois Ruffin, have tabled a cross-party European resolution urging the European Court of Justice to review the EU-Mercosur trade agreement for potential treaty incompatibility. Ruffin emphasized widespread opposition in France to the deal, framing it as symbolic of unwanted globalization. East Timor is set to become the 11th member of the ASEAN regional bloc in October 2025. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim announced this during his visit to the country. The formal accession will be confirmed at a leaders' summit in Kuala Lumpur. East Timor's President Jose Ramos Horta, who has long campaigned for ASEAN membership, first submitted the application in 2011. And this milestone marks a significant step in regional integration for the youngest country in Southeast Asia. New Zealand has appointed Swedish economist Anna Bremen as its next central bank governor, making her the first woman to hold the post. New Zealand's finance minister announced the move today, saying Bremen will take charge of the Reserve Bank of Reserve Bank of New Zealand from December 1st. The Bremen was chosen after an international search that considered 300 candidates. She replaces Christian Hawkesby, who has been serving in the role on an interim basis. China has constructed the world's first dam designed and built with the help of artificial intelligence. Located in Xinjiang, the Dashichia Dam reaches 247 meters, making it the tallest concrete face rockfall dam in the world. The project, developed by the state-owned China Energy Engineering Corporation, used digital twin, AI and blockchain technologies to address seismic and geological challenges. With a generating capacity of 750,000 kilowatts, the dam is capable of producing enough electricity to power about 180,000 American homes for a year. Greenpeace activists displayed a massive 70-meter banner at Mexico City's Estela de Luz monument, calling on the Environment Ministry to urgently protect the Mayan rainforest. The campaign coordinator revealed that the past 5 years, more than 300,000 hectares of jungle have been lost, a staggering area more than 16 times the size of Mexico City. Deforestation in the last 5 years has exceeded the total loss of the previous 2 decades, highlighting the rapid and devastating destruction. Super Typhoon Ragasa the most powerful tropical cyclone in the world this year has struck Hong Kong with hurricane-force winds and heavy rains. The severe weather led to the city shutting down, with over 700 flights cancelled. As a result, at least 14 people were killed in Taiwan after a decades-old lake barrier burst following heavy rains from Typhoon Ragasa. The typhoon, which struck northern Philippines and Taiwan on Monday with strong winds and torrential rain, forced thousands to evacuate. The barrier failure in Hualien County swept away a bridge and flooded a town. Rescue teams are searching for 124 people reported missing in the area. At least 10 people died in India, 9 from electrocution after intense overnight rain, one of the heaviest in 4 decades, paralyzed Kolkata and nearby areas. The downpour, measuring 251.4 mm in less than 24 hours, was the highest since 1986 and ranked as the 6th highest single-day rainfall in 137 years. The highest rain disrupted air, rail and road transport, shut down educational institutions, and led the state government to advance the Puja holidays. Meta has introduced a real-time translation feature for its WhatsApp messaging service, aiming to ease cross-language chats among its more than 3 billion users. The translations will initially be available in 6 languages on Android and 19 Users can long press on a message and tap Translate to see any message in another language. The feature works personal and group chats as well as channel updates. Android users can also enable automatic translation for an entire chat thread, so future messages are translated by default. US Federal Trade Commission has accused Amazon of tricking millions of customers into unwanted Prime memberships in an antitrust trial that began on Tuesday in Seattle. US Federal Trade Commission attorneys said that Amazon and Kiev millions of customers were unintentionally signed up for Prime membership but did not stop them from, because doing so would have hurt its revenue. Civil case against Amazon and criminal court against Amazon and 3 of its executives is a key test of the FTC's tough on tech stance. Asian stocks opened lower on Wednesday following a drop on Wall Street. MSCI's Asia Pacific Index fell 0.2%, with Australian shares leading declines, down 0.7%, ahead of CPI data. Japan's Nikkei dropped 0.4%. US economic data showed slowing business activity, fueling growth concerns. Treasury yields fell as investors sought safety amid uncertainty. The International Cricket Council has suspended USA Cricket's membership immediately due to repeated breaches of ICC rules. These include poor governance and failure to achieve national governing body status with the US Olympic Committee. All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this one. Thanks so much for tuning in. Short break, stay with us.